What's up, my comic comrades? With Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore finally in theaters, it's time for us to break down the history of the greatest headmaster Hogwarts has ever seen, Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore, and get an idea of what those secrets might be. It's always fun to return to the Wizarding World, and in this newest Fantastic Beasts film, we are getting our first full return to Hogwarts since Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. We did briefly return to Hogwarts in The Crimes of Grindelwald, but it was just a couple of short scenes. So we're stupid excited to see the great Jude Law continue his role as the younger Dumbledore back at Hogwarts. But with all that said, it's time to take a look at the history of Albus Dumbledore. Albus Dumbledore first appeared in the book Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone in 1997. He was created by J.K. Rowling and is known as the baddest wizard of the Wizarding World, wielding the most powerful wand in existence, the Elder Wand. He was originally played by Richard Harris for the first two films, The Sorcerer's Stone and The Chamber of Secrets, but unfortunately passed and was replaced by the great Michael Gambon, who played Dumbledore for the remainder of the Harry Potter films. And then more recently, a younger Dumbledore for the Fantastic Beasts films has been played by the awesome Jude Law, who's doing an incredible job thus far. I think he's a perfect younger Dumbledore, and we're gonna get him battling Grindelwald in this movie, which I cannot wait to see. In any case, let's take a look at Dumbledore's origin. Albus Dumbledore was born in 1881. He was raised in a magical household by his two parents, Percival and Kendra, along with his younger brother, Aberforth, and sister, Ariana. Unfortunately for Ariana, though, when she was still very young, Muggle children, aka non-magic children, saw her using magic and attacked her as they were not a fan of witches or wizards. This in turn caused Ariana extreme emotional and mental damage. After this traumatic event, Percival, her father, was like, hell no, Muggle kids did not just attack my daughter. So he went into a rage and attacked the boys who hurt Ariana, but this resulted into him being thrown into the prison Azkaban. This now meant that Dumbledore's mother Kendra was forced to raise Albus and his siblings all by herself, on top of that being secluded from the Wizarding world. As for Albus Dumbledore, he was an extremely bright child and excelled at the Wizarding School Hogwarts, becoming what many say is the most brilliant student to ever attend Hogwarts. Case in point, he was made prefect in his 5th year and head boy during his 7th year. He would eventually graduate Hogwarts when he was 17 years old, but sadness struck Dumbledore once again when his mother was accidentally killed by his sister Ariana. This forced him to return to his family's home in Godric's Hollow to raise and care for his younger siblings, which he ultimately grew resentful for as he didn't want this responsibility. It's around this time he became friends with Gellert Grindelwald, one of the greatest wizards the Wizarding world has ever known. At this point in time, Grindelwald was expelled from school and sent to stay with his aunt. Dumbledore and Grindelwald would continue to hang out more and more and became absolutely obsessed with finding the Deathly Hallows and remaking the world so that Muggles were slaves to the wizards and witches. Over time, Dumbledore would fall in love with Grindelwald. However, their friendship would ultimately be cut short when the two of them got into a duel with Dumbledore's younger brother that unfortunately resulted in the accidental death of Albus's younger sister Ariana. This event changed Dumbledore. He was extremely terrified, remorseful, and embarrassed about his involvement in his own sister's death. So he just gave up on his dreams of wizard domination and instead went to work as a teacher at Hogwarts, where he became the professor of Transfiguration. It's here Albus would meet Tom Riddle, aka the future one who should not be named, and was one of the few who did not trust him. By the time 1945 rolled around, Dumbledore was forced to duel the infamous dark wizard Grindelwald, who is second only to Voldemort. Dumbledore, of course, was triumphant in the end, defeating Grindelwald and taking the Elder Wand from him for himself. Then after this, everything was gravy, baby, at least for a time being, because he was made headmaster of Hogwarts around the year 1956. And then after that, he would found the Order of the Phoenix as his response to Voldemort, who was rising to power, at which point he led an army in force to oppose Voldemort in the Wizarding War. Around this time, Dumbledore also learned of the prophecy about the one who would take down Voldemort. Because of this, he did his best to protect the Potter family, but ultimately failed, at which point he made sure that Harry Potter, who survived, would be taken care of by his uncle and aunt. But we all know how that went, and just like that, friends, we have the origin of Albus Dumbledore, one of, if not the greatest wizards in all of the Wizarding world. So now, let's take a look at story arcs. Now, as far as story arcs go, there's a lot to break down as Dumbledore has been in all 7 of the Harry Potter books and all 8 of the films, as well as being part of the Fantastic Beasts and so on. But for our purposes, we're gonna stick with the Sorcerer's Stone or the Philosopher's Stone all the way up to the Deathly Hallows. So let's start from the beginning with the Sorcerer's Stone. This is the first time we ever see Dumbledore, and he is orchestrating the arrival of Harry Potter to the Dursleys after just being orphaned. Then after living 10 miserable years with the Dursleys, to say they treated him poorly is putting it nicely, Dumbledore sends his trusty friend and gamekeeper Hagrid to tell Harry about his magical heritage and bring him to Hogwarts. After Hagrid helps Harry get his supplies for school, Harry arrives at Hogwarts where he meets Dumbledore, who starts talking to Harry about the Mirror of Arris, and then gives him his father's invisibility cloak. After this, Dumbledore is called away to the Ministry of Magic on the same exact night that Professor Quirrell and Voldemort try to steal the stone. We then find out that Dumbledore enchanted the mirror to hide the Philosopher's Stone, which is a powerful magical artifact. But Dumbledore catches on that he's needed back at Hogwarts and returns just in the nick of time to save Harry, who is the last thing standing between Voldemort and the stone. Dumbledore then tells Harry that the nature of the magical protection left behind by his mother is of course love. This brings us to the Chamber of Secrets. After Harry's first exciting year at Hogwarts, the second year quickly goes from excitement to fear when deadly attacks start happening all around the school. And the crazy part is, it seemed like Harry Potter was responsible for every one of these crimes and attacks around the school. But Dumbledore was one of the few that knew Harry wasn't responsible and instead suspected the influence of Voldemort behind these attacks at Hogwarts. He was unable to prove Voldemort and his influence was behind these attacks. So unfortunately, Dumbledore is suspended by the school's governors and forced to leave the school. Long story short, Harry would sneak down into the Chamber of Secrets and find a basilisk and a piece of Voldemort's soul left behind in one of his old diaries. He defeats the Horcrux, shows it to the Ministry, and Dumbledore is reinstated. After this, we move on to the Prisoner of Azkaban. Here we see Voldemort's right-hand man, Sirius Black, escape Azkaban. So the Minister of Magic has several guards around Harry Potter and Hogwarts in general in the form of the Dementors. Dumbledore is against having Dementors around the school, but goes along with it anyway. However, even with them there, they seem to be having a negative effect as they cause Harry to fall off his broom during a Quidditch match and resulting in him nearly falling to his doom. Dumbledore was luckily in the audience and saved Harry last second. This pisses off Dumbledore, who then proceeds to banish them from the school grounds. Eventually, Harry, Ron, and Hermione find out that Sirius Black is actually innocent and the real person who murdered Harry's parents is Peter Pettigrew. But due to Severus Snape, the Wizarding Trinity is unable to prove that Black's innocent, but due to Dumbledore stepping in once again to help good old Harry, suggests that Hermione use her time turner to go back in time and rescue Sirius Black from meeting his demise. The plan works and Black escapes away from Hogwarts. For my fellow Wizarding World fanatics, the next one up is the Goblet of Fire. Here the Triwizard Tournament takes place at Hogwarts and Dumbledore acts as the judge for the entirety of the tournament. We see that Harry has been entered into the tournament even though he did not apply himself. Dumbledore believes in him as the two are really good friends by now, and Dumbledore knows that Harry is special and forces out there are trying to get him and mess with him. The big takeaway here in this book/movie is that Harry Potter is nearly killed by Voldemort during the tournament. This is also the point where it's 100% confirmed that Voldemort has returned to power. We also see here that Dumbledore saved Harry from a fake Mad Eye Moody. Next up, the Order of the Phoenix. At this point in time, higher-ups at the Ministry of Magic and whatnot are not digging on Dumbledore so much, but he still manages to keep his control over Hogwarts, which is forced to be looked after by Dolores Umbridge. It's also here where we would get the underground student organization, Dumbledore's Army. The goal of the program was to teach students defense against the dark arts. But when Harry is put on trial for the use of underage magic, Dumbledore takes the blame for Harry and the rest of the students and then vanishes from the school. But come on, this is Dumbledore. He's not gonna go away forever. He actually reappears later during the Battle of the Department of Ministries and single-handedly defeats some of the Death Eaters. He also fights the one we don't speak of, Voldemort, and beats him. It's at this point he's been reinstated as headmaster to Hogwarts and later explains the prophecy to Harry. Then in the Half-Blood Prince, Dumbledore starts giving Harry private lessons in which they take a look at Voldemort's past, learning of his attempts at immortality by creating Horcruxes. Dumbledore tells Harry that he's been hunting them down, one of which causes his hand to become blackened. He even takes Harry along to find one of the Horcruxes within a cave. Eventually, Dumbledore and Harry are able to retrieve the locket and escape the cave. But once Dumbledore returns to Hogwarts, he is confronted by Draco Malfoy, who has a bunch of Death Eaters by his side. Draco is there to kill Dumbledore and Harry looks on secretly, as Dumbledore prevents him from intervening, and instead attempts to reason with Malfoy. In the end, Malfoy isn't able to kill Dumbledore, but Severus Snape showed up, who is able to kill Dumbledore, and does so. But plot twist, this was all part of the plan as Snape and Dumbledore had a previous conversation where Dumbledore ordered Snape to kill him against Snape's will. In any case, this leads us to the last book and two-part movie, The Deathly Hallows. In this, we see the truth behind Dumbledore's death, and we also see Dumbledore appear to Harry in limbo after he was struck by a killing curse. Him and Harry have an epic conversation about regrets, and Dumbledore even tells Harry he has not died yet, and may return back to life if he wants to, at which point he does and Harry defeats Voldemort, gaining possession of the Elder Wand before breaking it. And just like that, friends, we have Dumbledore's history summed up. Now let's move on to powers and abilities. Dumbledore is an extremely powerful wizard. He is often thought of as the most powerful wizard of his era, only rivaled by Lord Voldemort. To put it simply, Dumbledore would be the god of wizards and Voldemort would be the devil of wizards. He has magical mastery, he's an intellectual genius, an excellent teacher, the peak of leadership skills, and a fantastic duelist, amongst other great traits. With that said, Dumbledore can do things no other wizards can do. He's capable of producing a fully fledged Patronus, which takes the form of a phoenix. He's also known to be extremely accomplished in charms, transfiguration, potions, dark arts, wandless nonverbal magic, magical chemistry, alchemy, history of magic, care of magical creatures, and spell creation. Again, Dumbledore is like the peak wizard dude. He even knows about healing magic and is great flying on a broomstick. He's also very knowledgeable in the nature of love, along with magic associated with it, and shown the remarkably powerful capability to feel true love. He also knows all about the study of ancient runes. Pretty much, you name it, Dumbledore's got it or can do it. Dude even helped design the Philosopher's Stone and found the 12 uses for dragon's blood. He's also known for his ability to apparate completely silently, and is also the one who came into the final possession of the Elder Wand and wielded it for years. It makes sense that the most powerful wand in existence would be wielded by the most powerful wizard in existence. But with that said, let's finish up with some reading recommendations. Read all 7 of the Harry Potter novels, then all 3 of the Fantastic Beasts books, then watch all 8 of the Harry Potter movies and all 3 of the Fantastic Beasts films. That should be enough to get you all started. And that's gonna bring today's episode to a close, but if you like this video, be sure to check out this one right here. And if you like all of our videos, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. It always helps us out. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.